Assalamu alaikum dear students, welcome to your channel The Anatomy Canvas. In today's class of neuroanatomy we are going to discuss the hypothalamus. So the learning objective for the today's class are to describe the external feature of the hypothalamus, the internal nuclear groups and their functional correlations. Hypothalamus represents most ventral portion of the diencephalon. So as I have previously described you in the previous lecture, different parts of the diencephalon. Here in this diagram you can see this is the area of the thalamus, and below and anterior to the thalamus is the hypothalamus. It weighs nearly 4 gram and it is only 0.3 of the total brain mass, but functionally it is very important. It lies dorsal to hypothalamus. Thalamus lies dorsal to hypothalamus, and the subthalamic region is lateral and caudal. So the thalamus is dorsal and hypothalamus is ventral, and subthalamic region are caudal to it. It is located in the wall of the third ventricle. Again, another very important relationship. Below the hypothalamic sulcus, it forms floor and lower part of the lateral walls of the third ventricle. So as you people all know that this is the area of the third ventricle, and on each side of the third ventricle below it is formed by the floor is formed by the hypothalamus, and above it is formed by the thalamus. So it forms the lateral wall or lateral boundary of the third ventricle. So hypothalamus is present on ventral surface of this hypothalamus. This is the area of the hypothalamus, and this one is the area of the thalamus. So on ventral aspect of the hypothalamus, you can see over here the infundibular stalk is present, to which is attached the hypophysis cerebri. So anterior relations over here are you can see over here. Just a minute. This area, the anterior commissure over here, then the lamina terminalis, then the area which is over here is the optic tract and optic chiasma, then the tuber cinereum and the infundibulum, and posterior to tuber cinereum. In this area you can see these are the mammillary bodies which are present. So these are the relationship, the anterior commissure, the lamina terminalis, the optic chiasma, the infundibular stalk, tuber cinereum, and posteriorly the mammillary bodies, and beneath the hypothalamus you can see the subthalamus which is present. So mammillary bodies which are present, they lie posteriorly near the interpedunculaire fossa. This is the location of the interpedunculaire fossa. So I show you again, these are the mammillary bodies. Here you can see the mammillary bodies which are present over here. So this diagram is inferior aspect of the hypothalamus and the surrounding structure. So in this area you can see this is the optic chiasma, the optic nerve which is present, and the optic tract which is formed after the optic chiasma. This area is the tuber cinereum with attached to the which is attached to the stalk of the pituitary, that is the infundibulum or infundibular stalk. Here you can see the two mammillary bodies are present. Yeah, here in this area you can see the crus cerebri. These are the crus cerebri, and this area is the posterior perforated substance which is present, and this area is the pons. So this is the inferior aspect of the hypothalamus. Then another very important relationship of the hypothalamus are that the anterior column of the fornix traverse the hypothalamus to reach the mammillary body. So in this area you can see these are the fornix and this is the thalamus. So this fornix is passing through the components of through the nuclei of the hypothalamus, and they divide the substance of the hypothalamus when seen through a sagittal plane into medial and lateral zones, and they traverse this area and then they reach the area of the mammillary body. So this area is the medial zone and this area is the lateral zone, and this one is the anterior column of the fornix, which is passing through the substance of the hypothalamus to reach the mammillary bodies. So the different zone which are present, first we will describe the zone which are present in medial part of the hypothalamus, because as I have told you, these parts are divided by the anterior limb of the fornix into medial and lateral parts. So in the medial part of the hypothalamus, first of all you can see the one which is most anterior. This is the preoptic area or preoptic zone, in which preoptic nucleus is present. Then you can see the next zone which is just above the optic chiasma. This is the supraoptic zone, and this supraoptic zone contains the supraoptic nucleus, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the anterior nucleus, and then the paraventricular nucleus. So these four nuclei are part of the second zone, which is called the supraoptic zone. Third zone is called the tuberal zone. And in the tuberal zone you can see the arcuate nucleus which is present, then the ventromedial nucleus and dorsomedial nucleus which are present over here, and then the mammillary body are present in the mammillary zone, and posteriorly you can see the posterior nuclei. So these are all the different nuclear groups which are present in different zones: the preoptic zone, the supraoptic zone, the tuberal zone, and the mammillary zone. So this is another beautiful diagram, and in which you can see this is the anterior aspect and this is the posterior aspect. So this one is the anterior thick limb of the fornix, which is passing through the substance of the nuclei of the hypothalamus and dividing it into anterior and medial and lateral zone. So in this pink color area you can see this one is the lateral hypothalamic area or lateral zone, in which the only nucleus which is present in the lateral is the lateral hypothalamic nucleus. Again in the medial area, the most anterior one is the preoptic area. Then the next zone in which you can see the different nuclei, like the paraventricular nucleus are present, and also the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Here in this slide also you can see the three different parts of the suprachiasmatic nucleus: the pars dorsolaterales, pars dorsomedialis, and pars ventromedialis. These are the three further subdivisions of the supraoptic nucleus. Then in the tuberal zone you can see the this one is the dorsomedial nucleus, and this one is the ventromedial nucleus, and the posterior nucleus and the arcuate nucleus which are present in the tuberal zone, and then the posterior area in which you can see the posterior nuclei which are present in the posterior area. And this pink again over here in this area you can see. So this is the lateral preoptic area, and here you can see the portions of the intermediate nucleus. These are the supraoptic nuclei which are present over here. So the medial group of the nuclei which are present, and in pink color you can see the lateral nucleus which is present in the lateral zone, and these are separated from each other by the thick limb of the fornix. Then the different efferent connections and the efferent connections of the hypothalamus. The fornix, main important first fornix, it connects the hippocampus to the mammillary body, forming the part of the Pepys circuit. Then the stria terminalis, which connects the amygdaloid body to preoptic and anterior hypothalamic nucleus. Again important, the mammillary peduncle conveys sensory impulses from the spinal cord and the brainstem to the lateral hypothalamic areas. These are again important. The medial forebrain bundle connects autonomic and limbic structure of the forebrain to the hypothalamus. The thalamo-hypothalamic, palido-hypothalamic, subthalamo-hypothalamic pathway which connects the thalamus, the corpus striatum, the subthalamus to the hypothalamus respectively. And the direct physical and chemical receptors, the circulating blood is constantly monitored by the hypothalamic cells which function as chemoreceptor, osmoreceptors, and thermoreceptors. So these are the different efferent connections which are related to the hypothalamus. And now the efferent connections, in efferent connections again the mammillothalamic tract connects the mammillary body to anterior nucleus of thalamus. Again it is part of the Pepys circle which then projects to the cingulate gyrus. Mammillotegmental tract connects the mammillary body to the reticular formation of the brainstem. Again, these are related with the first one, which is related with the memory, and the second related the different aspects of the pain, the slow pain fibers which are related with the reticular formation. They connected via mammillary body to the hypothalamus. The descending fibers to the brainstem and the spinal cord, they influence the peripheral neurons of the autonomic nervous system. So these are the different efferent connections, and now we will study in detail all of these connections now. So the main important functional correlations to the of the hypothalamus, it controls three main functions: the limbic system, the endocrine function, and the autonomic nervous system. So we will see the function of the hypothalamus in relation to all of these three functions of the hypothalamus. So first we will study the limbic system. So the different nuclei of the hypothalamus, which is related with the limbic system, the mammillary bodies, amygdala, ventromedial nucleus, lateral nucleus, and tarsomedial nucleus. The mammillary body, which is related with the memory and the episodic memory, the reflex memory with the olfactory system. So it is part of the Pepys circuit. We will discuss it in the next slide. The amygdala is connected to the mammillary bodies. Amygdala is connected to the hypothalamus via the stria terminalis. Then the ventromedial nucleus, the lateral nucleus, and the dorsomedial nucleus, these have the connection with the feeding system. The main nucleus which is involved in this feeding system is the arcuate nucleus. Arcuate nucleus has both the connection with the ventromedial nucleus and lateral nucleus. The ventromedial nucleus is basically related with the satiety, and the lateral nucleus is related with the hunger. So whenever there is increased fat storage, whenever there is hyperglycemia, these leads to the stimulation of the ventromedial nucleus, and it will leads to the satisfaction of the satiety, and it will release to decrease in the hunger, while the lateral nucleus is related with the hunger, and whenever there is the decrease in the level of the blood glucose level, this nucleus will be stimulated, and it will lead to the feeling of the hunger. Another nucleus which is related with the dorsomedial limbic system is the dorsomedial nucleus, and this dorsomedial nucleus is related with the non-specific behavioral changes. So here in this slide you can see the Pepys circuit. The Pepys circuit, basically the stimulation arises in the hippocampus. They passes through the fornix, the body of the fornix, and then into the mammillary body. From the mammillary body via mammillothalamic striation, they goes to the anterior thalamic nuclei. From the anterior thalamic nuclei, these goes to the cingulate gyrus, and through the cingulate gyrus, these then enter into entorhinal circus and back into the hippocampus. So this area is basically related, it is forming the Pepys circuit, which is related with the memory, and this circuit is also very important because it is affected in certain diseases like the Parkinson's disease, like the Korsakoff syndromes, Alzheimer's disease. These all diseases can affect this Pepys circuit, and this Pepys circuit is related with the memory. Then again you can see the relationship, different relationship of the hypothalamus, which is related with the limbic system. So here again in this slide you can see the circuit of the Pepys, the mammillary body, the anterior thalamic nucleus, and hippocampus. The stimulation which arises from the hippocampus, they move on to mammillary body, then to anterior thalamic striation, through the cingulate gyrus, and then back to the hippocampus. Similarly, amygdala via the stria terminalis stimulates the hypothalamus, and it has another connection via the ventral amygdalofugal pathway back to the amygdala. Similarly, so these are the different pathways. Here again you can see the different pathways, like this is the dorsal longitudinal fasciculus through which it is attached to the midbrain, and another pathway where it is attached to the spino-hypothalamic tract and the hypothalamo-spinal tract. Via these two tracts, it is attached with the spinal cord via autonomic nervous system. So it is part of the autonomic nervous system. So the next are the nuclei which are related with the endocrine system. These are the arcuate nucleus and the medial preoptic nucleus. The arcuate nucleus releases its factors via portal circulation. These factors are the gonadotropin releasing hormone and gonadotropin inhibiting hormone, which again affects the gonadotrophs which are present in the anterior pituitary and stimulate or inhibit the gonadotroph. Similarly, these arcuate nuclei release the corticotropin releasing factor and corticotropin inhibitory factor. So corticotropin releasing factor stimulates the corticotrophs which are present in anterior pituitary and causes release of the corticotropic factor, corticotropic hormone, that is the TSH, corticotropic hormones. Then again it releases the prolactin releasing factor, which again causes release of the prolactin. Then arcuate nucleus also secretes that thyrotropic releasing factor and thyrotropic inhibitory factor. So stimulation of the thyrotropic releasing factor, which stimulates the thyrotropes, and as a result of it the TSH is released. So these four hormones, the GnRH, the CRF, the prolactin and the TRF, these are the stimulatory hormone, while GHIH, CIF and TIF, they are inhibitory hormone. So they causes release of the gonadotropin, that is FSH, and LH, the corticotropin, that is ACTH, the prolactin and the TSH. Similarly, the medial preoptic nucleus, it stimulates the gonadotrophs, and gonadotrophs release the gonadotropic hormones. Now the hormones which are related with the posterior pituitary, the nuclei which are related with the posterior pituitary, these are the supraoptic nucleus, the paraventricular nucleus and the suprachiasmatic nucleus. So supraoptic nuclei causes release of ADH, the paraventricular nucleus causes release of oxytocin, and suprachiasmatic nucleus, it is very important, it has a relationship with the pineal gland and it is important in maintenance of the sleep cycle. Then the last, the nuclei which are present, which are related to the autonomic nervous system. So these are the anterior hypothalamic nucleus and the posterior hypothalamic nucleus. The anterior hypothalamic nucleus is the part, it is related to the parasympathetic nervous system, and as we all know, the parasympathetic system is craniosacral in origin. So it stimulates all the cranial nerve nuclei which are related with the parasympathetic system, that is the Ettinger-Westphal nucleus of the cranial nerve 3, the lacrimatory nucleus, the nuclei of the tractus solitarius, the superior and inferior salivatory nucleus, and nucleus of the vagus nerve. Similarly, the fibers go downward via the hypothalamic spinal tracts to the spinal tract in the sacral region, and where they also causes the stimulation over there. They form part of the parasympathetic nerve system. Similarly, the posterior hypothalamic nucleus is related with the sympathetic nervous system, and sympathetic nervous system as it is thoracolumbar, and in the thoracolumbar spine there is intermediate horn in the spinal cord which is present. So these fibers, their projections goes to the intermediate horn. These are the preganglionic nerve fiber, and they stimulate and they form part of the sympathetic nervous system. So this is the soup of the day. All the nuclei which are present in the hypothalamus, their zone and their function. So first, the paraventricular nucleus. So I have given different color so that you can memorize these as well. So the purple color nuclei is the paraventricular, the suprachiasmatic and the supraoptic nucleus. These three nuclei are basically related with the posterior pituitary. So I have given the same color. These they are related, they are present in the medial zone, in the paraventricular in the tuberal part, and preoptic and anterior in the anterior part, and the paraventricular fluid balance balance, it is related with the fluid balance, as I have told you that it is part of the ADH, and it also stimulates the oxytocin. Similarly, suprachiasmatic, which is related with the pineal gland, and it is related to the sleep cycle. Suprachiasmatic, sorry. So suprachiasmatic related to the pineal gland and the sleep cycle, and supraoptic, which is stimulates the posterior pituitary and causes release of the oxytocin. So these three, the paraventricular, the suprachiasmatic, and supraoptic, these are part of the cells which stimulates the posterior pituitary. Then preoptic and arcuate nuclei, they stimulates the anterior pituitary. They are present in the medial zone, and they stimulate the preoptic stimulate the lateral and anterior thermoregulation and sexual behavior, while arcuate via their releasing an inhibitory factor stimulates almost all of the anterior pituitary hormone except one, which is stimulated by the preoptic, which is stimulated by the preoptic. Yes. Then the anterior and the posterior. So these two are related with the autonomic nervous system. They are present in the medial zone, both of these. The anterior is related with the parasympathetic and posterior related with the sympathetic. Then in the blue color, the dorsomedial nucleus, the ventromedial nucleus, the lateral complex, the mammillary body, and also the arcuate itself also, which has stimulatory effect on these nucleus. These are all the nuclei which are affecting the feeding mechanism. Some are related with the satiety and other are related with the appetite and hunger. So these are the different nuclear groups. And here I complete my today's class. The references are Carpenter's Human Neuroanatomy, the Gray's Anatomy by Susan Stranning, 40th edition, and textbook of the Clinical Neuroanatomy by Vishram Singh. Thank you very much for your attention for today's class, and Allah Hafiz till the next class.